Commission to order. If you have a cell phone, please either turn it off or put it on silent. We'll roll call the commission.
Albert Bemer.
Present.
Victoria Snyder.
Here.
Scott Pitt.
Here.
Mark Lowry, Steve Notice. Tom Pitt.
Here.
Sharon Pitts. Sorry. Len Reed. Dave Shaver.
Here.
And Joseph Rebecca.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Right. Thank you. We're going to start off matters this evening with two public hearings. The first is a public hearing on a special use permit application for a manufactured housing community at 500 Beaver Street, Albion, Michigan. Ian, if you just tell us what the, in general, what the special use permit is.
Yes, so a special use permit is something outlined in our zoning ordinance where conditionally upon planning commission review with solicited feedback from the public, so everyone within 300 feet of the parcel where this use is being requested was sent a notice by mail and invited to submit their comments or attend and provide their comments regarding this proposed special use. So right now is the time for anyone from the public who wishes to offer their opinion, support, or lack thereof to this project. You would open the floor for that, and if you do so, I do want to say that for this public hearing, the applicant will get a chance to speak during the regular agenda item, but I believe they're also welcome to speak during the public hearing.
I'll open the public hearing on this matter. Anyone who wishes to come forward, address the commission, you can do so. So anyone wish to come forward to the commission and speak?
This is regarding the special use permit for a manufactured housing community. The next public hearing will be regarding the marijuana overlay district.
Okay.
Does anyone wish to come forward and speak regarding the special use permit for the application for a manufactured housing community at 500 Beaver Street? We'll close that public hearing. And before I open the public hearing on the next item, Ian, if you can just tell us what that's about.
Yep. So one of your items of discussion tonight is a change or expansion to the overlay district, which regulates where in the city marijuana-based businesses may operate. Our zoning ordinance allows marijuana-based businesses in the commercial district, M1 and M2, which are the light and heavy industrial districts respectively. In the packet, and we'll be able to show it later, is the preliminary maps we have for what the current overlay district is. Right now, any marijuana business is restricted to this overlay district, and the Albion Economic Development Corporation solicited the Planning Commission to review an expansion to that. Their specific request was to include the entire industrial park, which is not every industrial or commercial zone parcel in the city, but just most of them. It's the industrial park is managed by the EDC, and there's a specific boundary to it.
Okay, great. I'll open the public hearing on this matter. Anyone who wishes to come forward and address the commission, they can do so.
Thank you so much.
Please give us your name and your address.
Bonnie Edmonds, I work for the city of Albion.
What's that?
Bonnie Edmonds, I work for the
Okay.
city of Albion.
All right.
I have a question. Why would you want to bring the distillery here? We're trying to improve the park, McIntosh Park. That ain't going to cause problems. If you're trying to bring more marijuana factory inside Albion, when you're trying to improve a park, what is that going to accomplish?
So you're asking me personally, or?
Yeah, I'm asking, or I'm just asking a question.
Okay, so this request would allow for more areas within the industrial park to have the ability to have marijuana facilities.
Don't you think we got enough marijuana facilities out there now?
I don't know if we have enough or not.
I don't know. You don't need that. I don't feel that it's necessary to have another one out there. That's my opinion.
Okay. Any
Thank you.
commissioner want to ask any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to come forward? Give us your name and your address.
Hi, Elberine Showers, 805 Dalhousie Drive. I'm against expanding. I'm against it being here. I'm against it growing and selling. I'm just against it, period. We have 7,000, I say close to 8,000 people that live here. You bring all these here marijuana facilities, factories, whatever you want to call it here. We're a small community. We don't need all this here stuff, marijuana. We don't. I figure that if you already got a position somewhere, that's where it needs to be and nothing else. I don't think it needs to come further into town. I don't feel like it needs to be on our main street. I just don't. I see a lot of problems with marijuana and our children. I see mental problems with people, and they smoking marijuana. He gonna have a good paycheck because he'll be working overtime. But I just don't think that we need marijuana. Can we entice, influence other companies to come in here other than smoking marijuana? Everywhere I go, I smell marijuana in my mask. I smell like a skunk. And everybody's smoking, driving, everybody just doing just freely. And it's not good. All money is not good money. All money is not. And I believe when you expand to bring this here more and more into our small community, it's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be total chaos. And maybe you don't see it. I don't know who pockets want to be lying with this here money and with our people and our children, you know, but it's not good. So I'm asking you to think with your heart, with your mind, think about our children that you see walking around here. Think about these people who already is having problems with mental illness, with schizophrenia. Think before you bring other industries of marijuana in here. I just don't see it benefits Albion. This little money that you think you're gonna get, it's gonna go through your pockets like I don't know what. But it is not good. I don't like it. I pray against it. And I'm asking God to shut it down because we don't need this here. We don't need it here. And every time they bring up marijuana, I'm gonna come in and voice my opinion. I got 15 grandchildren. I got children. And I don't want them to be subject to marijuana. I do not, and it's not good. I done been there, done that, and it does not benefit our town.
Any questions from Ms. Showers? Anyone else want to come forward? Talk about, just give us your name and your address.
Yes, Sam Kilberg, address is 39577 Woodward Avenue, Suite 300, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. I'm an attorney at Dykeman Gossett, and I represent Greenhouse Farms Albion, who's Sunny's, the provisioning center at 1410 North Eaton Street in Albion, Michigan. As this council is aware, Sunny's has an active medical marijuana provisioning center license from the state and has actually reapplied for its provisioning center license here in the city of Albion to renew that. And I'm here to voice support for the expansion of the industrial park, but as well as inform the commission and get you thinking, eventually, if the city does decide to open up and allow retail, micro businesses and provisioning centers, as it already does allow provisioning centers, but the zoning ordinance that was recently passed really markets everything just to the industrial park. And while when we're talking about grow, process, safety compliance labs, those are light industrial uses. They fit that zoning category very much so. But when you're talking about a provisioning center or a retail or a micro business, those are more commercial retail. And I think it really fits in more of a commercial mixed use area, which actually is more compatible with the Albion comprehensive plan and future land use plan for the mixed use zone that I've seen. And really the point for that is, as we've seen from many municipalities across the state, is these facilities and these centers, they are retail commercial businesses. They draw foot traffic, they bring eyes. And so really that's where I can see a benefit for the city. In addition to the medicinal benefits that the products offer its patients, there's also very good tax benefits for the city. And we've seen those numbers come down from the state that are very beneficial. So I commend the city in taking a step forward in entering medical marijuana and adult use marijuana. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions?
So I understand you say that the desire here is to put in provisioning centers within the city in various places like downtown and on Eden Street. And is that what?
Yeah, well, the city already has provisioning centers, and Sunny's has a provisioning center on Eden Street that is licensed by the city. We're applying for renewal, and really under MCL 332759556. Once the municipality adopts an ordinance, it really can't restrict a marijuana grower, processor, or retailer from operating within a facility that shares a local license under the MFLA. So once you're already there, under MRTMA, you are allowed to have both facilities. And I think that's a point I wanted to raise for the city today. But yeah, I believe that the retail provisioning centers, retail micro businesses, their storefronts, you can go off and see them. I mean, they're top line facilities, just like you would walk into any other retail store.
What is there some type of guideline as to how many provisioning centers can be in a city or in a certain radius within, like alcohol is? It's like you can only have so many liquor licenses in a certain radius within the city. Is there set guidelines?
So that is coming down. There's talk of current legislation. I can speak of this now, but really that the city, you guys can set whatever parameters you would like. Under your zoning ordinance, you have the authority to set buffers, setback restrictions. I know there was setbacks when we originally applied back in 2018. The location that we had was zoned properly and met all the guidelines at that time. I know you've now changed it, and so I believe under the current zoning ordinance, they're only allowed in the industrial park area. And I wanted to bring it up because it doesn't, in my opinion, the use of the provisioning center and the retail centers doesn't match your comprehensive plan and your zoning ordinance for an M1, M2 industrial park. I mean, there's no other commercial businesses really in that downtown Albion industrial park. And I just wanted to raise that to the commission.
Is that to say that then it would seem to be out of line for a provisioning center to be in the industrial park because it's,
yes, yeah, because it doesn't match the unit. I mean, how many other commercial businesses do you really see down in the industrial park, Albion Park? Is there any other businesses that you can go for that storefront retail? And so that's my point. How you have it zoned currently is you are actually pushing the marijuana and really the provisioning center retail. They're the only businesses that have to have retail storefront property in that area. And it just doesn't make sense. You're not going to draw foot traffic, eyesight. I mean, the Sunny's location on Eaton Street is right on Eaton Street. You walk across, you have all those other commercial businesses, and that's really the purpose for the mixed use district that you have here in Albion, and that is to promote. You have commercial businesses that draw foot traffic that then help with supporting neighboring properties.
I guess I'm thinking when you say it doesn't make sense, that applies to who? Because I'm thinking of people that really don't want it in the city. It makes lots of sense to them not to have provisioning centers just spotted out throughout the city.
Yep.
So I'm sure it makes plenty of sense to them. And then it might not make sense to the people that have a desire to put those establishments in those various places.
No, and I completely understand that, but the zoning category of M1, M2 is light industrial, and the use category of a provisioning center is a retail commercial business. So it doesn't match, the zoning category. So that's why I think it really fits more in the mixed use area. And the city is under their complete authority to designate locations. You can buffer however you'd like. If there's certain areas, you completely have the authority to review your zoning ordinance. I just want to point out the way that you have it zoned now, I don't think it matches. I don't think it's going to be good. And really, it's not going to bring in people that want to, open centers or really even survive if they're going to be tucked away back in the corner, in an industrial park. Does that make sense?
So for the business of medicinal marijuana distribution, it's probably not a good idea to tuck them in the industrial park. That's what you're
Correct,
saying.
yeah.
Because you're trying to put them out on the street so they can have lots of exposure.
Yep.
That's what you're saying. But for those that desire not to have them within the city, it makes plenty of sense because they don't want to hear no way. Really, they don't want them in the industrial park.
Yep, no, I
That's-
understand.
That's the thought.
Okay, no, I understand.
Yeah, okay.
Is there any other questions?
I just have a reference, there's one other retail establishment that's in the industrial park, Michigan Industrial Gas has a retail storefront there.
Oh, they do?
Just for clarification, there is one other, there's a precedent there, so.
Thank you.
Your last name again?
It's Kilberg, Kilberg.
Okay, so Mr. Kilber, you started by saying that you were supportive of this request, but then after a while, I got the sense that maybe you weren't supportive of the request. So exactly where are you in this?
No, I'm supportive of the request for the expansion of the industrial park, and I think I just kind of left it at that. I was just pointing out as well, while I had the floor, that under the zoning ordinance for, while we're talking, and if you're going to amend the overlay district to expand it, you also should look at, the other use categories that are underneath it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to come and speak during the public hearing? No. Public hearing. We'll move on now to approval of prior meeting minutes. We have minutes from our February 15th meeting. Give everyone a
Motion to approve.
second.
Second.
There's a motion to approve the minutes as drafted, supported. Any discussion? See now, I'll bring to a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes as drafted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, sure. Correspondence, any correspondence? Okay. Move on now to order of business. The first one is the discussion or approval of a special use permit for 500 Beaver Street. And Ian, if you can give us a report on that. that would be great.
All right. So, special use permit application for a manufactured housing community, 500 Bemer Street. I don't have the parcel number off the top of my head, but I did review all that prior to soliciting feedback on the site plan portion of this application from the parties I'm required to by the ordinance. So my responsibility to the planning commission is to provide a report, review the application for completeness, and work with the applicant to get in the door today. You have a slightly different section of our ordinance to review. Your standards for review do not have to match up with the ones that I am bound to. I am bound by the ordinance. You are not in all cases bound by the ordinance. So if I point out a deficiency in an application or a discrepancy of information, it is because I am required to do so. If and you are at your own judgment able to waive that or decide that the information provided is more adequate than I decided. You should have all received the packet. It was a very large packet, so we did not really print out a whole lot in advance. We do have copies of this and the other plans we'll be reviewing tonight available. And if you want to take time to spread that out among the desks, I'll be more than happy to provide that to you. So the essence of my report is that the proposed use does fit within the R2 district, which it is within. It is adjacent to another parcel used for the same purposes by the same group, and minus a few discrepancies in the application that I've notified the applicant of and received some feedback from the applicant on. The application is complete. Your standards for approval, again, can leave room for me to check back with the applicant and make sure a handful of things are completed prior to building permits being applied for in this moving forward. If you choose to give conditional approval in that way. Additionally, there are comments submitted in the packet provided by the city engineer, Mickey Bittner at Whiteman and Associates, and the director of public works. I would desire to see their comments resolved before approval or conditional approval is granted. If that requires you to table this till next meeting, or if we feel that the applicant can, with the materials they have, satisfy those comments tonight, then it will be up to your discretion to give conditional approval or table or give full approval. So with that, if you don't have any immediate questions for me, I would yield the floor to Don Westphal to explain to you a little bit more about the project. And I'm more than happy to come up and talk about any part of the application that you desire.
Sure, that'd be good.
Let me just get a quick question here, because I'm better trying to understand Beaver Street. Because Beaver Street goes from Eden Street all the way down to a dead end, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about on the other side, though, right?
Yeah, the address of the
Is that
parcel.
actually called Beaver Street over there?
And not over there. The access to this parcel is off 27.5 mile road. The city does have an easement for Bemer Street that extends from Eaton to 27.5 mile road.
Okay.
And the address of this parcel is Bemer Street. So if you're thinking about it like, oh, I'll turn at McDonald's, that's not how you're gonna get there.
Yeah, because I'm thinking when we say Beaver Street, the thought of mine for people, I'm sure, is where Beaver Street is, and not where that new construction is.
If you were coming from City Hall to 500 Bemer Street, you'd take Austin Avenue out. Yeah.
Is there a plan to open that road up, or are we just concerned really about the park itself?
The city does have the option to put a road in there. I don't know if that's a budget priority for the Department of Public Works at this point, or if it's something that's gonna happen in the near future. But the parcel that is fronted on 27.5 mile is the same development. It's just the first half of it. So this development had approval given to its first half on a different parcel. And so this is an expansion of that development on a parcel whose address is a different street, but the access would still be from 27.5 mile.
Right. So basically, the only thing that we're looking at is to expand the what was already there, just widen.
Yes, and the reason we have to do this is because it is two different parcels. At one point in time, although it was a fairly recent change, they were zoned differently. Actually, it was why I replaced this zoning district map. So if you orient yourself to this, the very top left, there's two parcels in orange here. This is where the currently existing manufactured housing community park is, and this adjacent orange parcel is what's being proposed tonight. This parcel was previously zoned M1 light industrial, but was rezoned by the Planning Commission in 2018 or 2019 to be a residential 2 district.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, thank you. We have a representative for the applicant.
Good evening. My name is Donald Westphal. 3478 Fair Tree Court in Oakland Township, Michigan. I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief overview on history on this. Over 20 years ago, I came before this group in the city council, and were able to get rezoning on this parcel to do a manufactured home community. And we went through all of the processes, and this is the plan that we presented and got rezoned and got a state approval on. The lighter colored area here is the area of the first phase of the project. And we got our state permit to construct the whole project. And then we constructed the first phase and got a permit to occupy and began putting houses in there 20 years ago. The recession, like you and like me and everybody else, really got hammered, and a lot of the houses that were in there were repossessed and came down to just one resident, and we moved him to our community in Grass Lake, Michigan, and really mothballed the community. Very painful for me. I've been designing manufactured home communities for over 50 years, and have a good deal of pride in the plans that we've done, and to see one of my children get mothballed was pretty painful. The economy got better. Housing costs got really high, and affordable housing in the form of manufactured home communities are going very well right now. We worked during this process. This portion of the property was rezoned to industrial, and I worked with Amy Dupree when you folks were getting requests for industrial sites, and we went round and round with different proposals trying to find an industrial use for that particular piece. And as you know, that didn't happen. So then we were back to a point of having an existing manufactured home community and an industrial spot that was not appropriate for our future uses. So we came back and found a company that has a great track record and a great financing package and a great marketing capability. And they purchased this portion of the property and then had an option on the expansion area if we could get all of the permits in place. And so once this was rezoned, I had assumed that the original site plan, which is this one, was going. We went to the state, got our state permit to construct. The state of Michigan regulates all manufactured home communities. You local municipalities have preliminary site plan approval for sewer, water, drain, and preliminary site plan approval. And so we had all of that to begin with, and we went to the state. First of all, we had to get this parcel re-licensed because it had been hadn't been occupied for probably 8 or 10 years. So then once that was, I got the state permit to construct. The new owners went in, and proud and happy to say that right now there are 50 houses in this project right now, and the prospect is that they will probably fill this first phase by the end of this year coming up, and so they're in line right now and have taken bids and so forth to move forward and to expand and to complete the construction on the remaining portion of the property. And I'm here because we just found out, a month or so ago that I had mistakenly not come to you with the site plan approval for the area that had been rezoned. So that's where we are today. Your ordinances and so forth mirror the state Manufactured Home Community Act and state that in your ordinances, and because the state had given us a permit to construct, they had reviewed all those documents, and it was quite a lengthy process having to get the state DEQ approval of the sewer and the water and all of that. And we've been at this for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years. So this is the last step in the process, and the new owners, once they purchase the expansion, will take off and get this. And I'll just add that Amy is excited about this because one of the things holding back industry is the availability of affordable housing, and that's important. And I'm very happy to see that that houses are going in and people are finding some affordable places to live. Accept any questions that you have. Just FYI, I designed my first manufactured home community as a grad student in 1963. And so I've been doing this for 50 years, and I think I know just about the answer to any question. So have at it if you need.
So you say you got 50 properties on site now?
There are 50 houses
How many
on
of them
site.
are occupied?
I think probably the majority of those are. Right now, the manufactured housing industry is 2 years ago, if you ordered a house, you could have a house from the factory in 6 to 8 weeks. Right now, there is such a demand and they can't ramp up the production. Right now, it takes about a year to get a house if you ordered it today. So for these properties, the company who owns the existing project are bringing houses on site as fast as they can get them, and they're occupied. I wish I had that number, but the majority of those houses are occupied.
The last tax report came in at 36, that paid their property tax on.
So that, that's very exciting to me. So anyway.
So the 50 that you were talking about, are they in the upper corner?
Yeah, they're actually, I drove through here just before I came to the meeting. This section is I would say probably 90% filled, and there are scattered, people who purchase a house, not only choose their house and their plan, but also their location. And when this company came in, they used this model, this area as a model area with a number of houses in there. And it's exciting to me that the first phase had a few single section houses, but almost all of the houses that are going in, and I talked to the community manager a couple of days ago. She said that the demand is for multi-section houses, and that's a positive too.
So I'm trying to understand, 20 years ago, you was the lead on this project, right?
Yeah, actually, I was a half owner of that property.
And this time around, you're not the lead or a partner, or
Well,
you
okay,
just own the property.
so I own everything in green, okay? I and a partner own everything in green, and the people who purchased this have an option to purchase the expansion area if we can convince them that we have all the necessary permits, and this is the last permit that we need for them to exercise their option.
Any other commissioner questions?
And Chief, got the police and fire, do you guys respond out there?
I put a school bus out the other day.
Mr. Westphal, are you familiar with the questions from the Department of Public Works?
What was that question?
I don't know that those were made available to him yet. The city engineer's questions and the public works questions are included in the packet, but were not distributed out there. When I sent my results after initial review to Mr. Westphal, it's the same day I sent notice out to Public Safety, Public Works, City Engineer, and our building official at Safe Build soliciting their reports on this as well. So I have Patrick's and Mickey's comments.
Right. But your recommendation is conditional on these being answered appropriately, correct? Okay, so suppose we need to provide those questions.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if the other commissioners can see them. The Department of Public Works is asking how much water will they use per day, average and maximum amounts. What will be the max water demand at any given time in gallons per minute? Will all the water be be returned to us as wastewater? If not, how much will? What will be in the wastewater? Chemicals, pH, BOE, temp, nutrients. Do they plan on cutting a curb for new driveways and roadways? If so, they would need a permit from the Department of Public Works. And are they running the stormwater into our system on their own retention pond?
I can answer all of those.
Okay, and but I want to say that there are also, I don't know if I can find them here, but the questions from the engineer as well, is that right?
Yes, those were returned to me today.
Okay,
So those are here, and if you were to give conditional approval, I'll read out the engineer's comments as well. It would be contingent upon these that I'm reading, and so Mr. Westphal would have an opportunity after this meeting, if you vote for conditional approval, I would provide these to him, and upon my judgment that they're satisfied, your approval would carry out.
so your report is essentially saying if Mr. Westphal is able to answer the questions from the Department of Public Works and the engineer to your satisfaction, that you would suggest approval.
Yes.
And I know that you have not heard these other questions yet from the engineer, and I can't find them myself, so. Do I just read what the questions are, just so that all
Yeah,
commissioners
absolutely.
know?
So I'm going to read the email that City Engineer Whiteman and Associates Nikki sent today. I've reviewed the plans provided from an engineering perspective, and I offer the following comments. Some of my comments are for consideration to assist with constructability or value engineering. Other items need to be addressed. Please let me know if you have any questions. General comments. 1, the plans have been found in accordance to the Mobile Home Commission Act and the Manufactured Housing Administrative Code, as evidenced by permit number dated December 17th, 2021, issued by the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. 2, I did not see any provisions for electric, natural gas, cable, or telephone utilities to serve the new sites. 3, who will provide construction oversight and as-built drawings. 4, lighting is to be provided per section 7.20 F8 of the Albion Code of Ordinances. I did not see provisions for lights on the plans. 5, all street names are to be on signs at intersecting streets per section 7.20 F9 of the Albion Code of Ordinances. Street name signs were not shown on the plans. He has some more questions on the water main that get into maybe some more specifics than Patrick was looking for. Please confirm that the water main will be privately owned and maintained. Much of the 3-inch water main is shown curved. This is not practical. All fittings used and the final alignment should be documented on the record drawings. The water main alignment shown may impact the slab or basement for site 51. 3. 4, while not required, consider 8-inch valves at select locations around the perimeter to assist with future isolation. 5, the proposed hydrant on the south side of Meadowview Circle, site 164, may exceed the 500-foot maximum distance per section 7.20 E1 of the Albion Code of Ordinances. The next existing hydrant to the west is not shown on the plans, so the distance is readily visible. This needs to be clarified. The proposed hydrants on sites 164 and 174 are 530 or more feet apart, exceeding the 500-foot maximum distance per section 7.20 E1 of the Albion Code of Ordinance. This must be remedied. The proposed hydrants on site 174 and 186 are 600 or more feet apart, exceeding the 500-foot maximum distance per section 7.20 E1 of the Albion Code of Ordinances. The north end of Lavender Court does not have a hydrant like the other streets. While the north end is within 500 feet of a hydrant, the 8-inch water main is readily accessible. I recommend adding a hydrant at this location. The Director of Public Safety should address the need at this location. On to sanitary sewer. 1, what is the purpose of the septic tank at site 149? If it is not being used, it should be removed. Storm sewer. 1, please provide stormwater calculations. 2, storm MH number 7A could be a 5-inch diameter instead of 7-inch diameter. It references a 5-foot diameter instead of 7-foot diameter. It references a 24-foot invert instead of 24-inch. I think that's a misprint. I think he does mean inches there. 3, storm CB number 8 may be too shallow to attain the desired rim grade when the pipe wall thickness, manhole cookie, and the casting height are considered. This could be mitigated by using the existing 24-inch invert in the existing catch basin in Meadowview Drive. 18-inch vertical separation isn't required between storm and sanitary sewers. Or it appears the storm sewer size could be reduced to 15 inches or 18 inches. Also, a 24-inch invert is referenced in, or I'm sorry, a 24-foot invert is referenced instead of a 24-inch invert. Storm CB number 15 references a 10-foot invert instead of a 10-inch. There's about 5 more comments relating to those. It sounds like a lot, but in my judgment, that this is something that the engineer who's been working on these plans could very easily return to us in another draft. Mickey is quite detailed. Patrick, you see, is a little bit more brief.
Sure.
I don't have doubts about Mr. Westphal's engineer's ability to make these necessary edits and return plans to the planning department that are in compliance.
Okay. Do I have any more questions or any motion from Commissioner?
I guess I got a comment, and that's why would we then approve prior to when there's things that need to be taken care of?
Yes.
And from my understanding, it can be done in a short time and the business could be handled.
So you can grant conditional approval, which is saying you're satisfied, understanding that I will see these remaining deficiencies satisfied, or you could vote to table and then have this discussion again at the next planning commission meeting. So it's just a matter of if you want to review and make sure that these changes were made, or if you're satisfied in allowing me and Patrick and Nikki to be the final review. It's about your time and what level of attention to this you'd like to see. If I can add just an additional comment. My mantra right now, heading into work every day, is what can we do to get 6,000 more people to move here? Because that's the size tax base we need to support the city services that we have. I am in support of this development. There are just a few I's to dot and T's to cross, and I would stand by my recommendation of conditional approval, which would be you voting conditional approval now, contingent upon the comments from Patrick and Mickey that I would then review, and then we would apply your approval.
So this would have to come back to us again, correct?
Not with conditional approval.
So not even after everything has been
Correct. Conditional approval.
satisfactorily, it's just, this is the one time we're gonna see it and this is it.
Yes.
If we table, we come back.
Yeah,
If you felt like these deficiencies were too great to be caught in the next round, you do have the option to disapprove the plans, which I would not recommend at this point. And then you would get another review of them. You can either disapprove and have Mr. Westphal reapply, or you could table and we'd go over the same list of requirements that we would if you did conditional approval. It would just come back to you. So it's whether you want to see a whole new application, review this application again, or trust that between the city engineer and public works, we can wrap up the last few requirements. Again, I just want to say, Mickey's very specific in talking about specific manholes, specific hydrants on the site, of which there's a dozen or so of each. This is one point of the requirements on the 25-point list that's required for site plan review. In section 5.3 of the ordinance, that's where we have 5.3 of chapter 100 of the zoning ordinance. That's where we have the requirements for site plan data required. All of the water-related comments here are number 25. There were some parking and sidewalk requirements that are number, I think, 16 and 17 or 17 and 18 on that list. So really, we're talking about 2.5 of the 25 requirements not being perfect.
I make the motion that we approve the site plan contingent on the rectification of deficiencies noted.
Okay, so moved and supported to grant conditional approval of the site plan, the special use permit, conditional on the various matters that we've discussed being rectified to Ian's satisfaction. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. So, it sounds like, at least from what I was hearing, that there's gonna have to be more fire hydrants installed. I'm assuming, because we're not.
Either that or relocated to
Okay.
get it within the 500.
So assume that there has to be more fire hydrants or a little bit more probably money invested in that infrastructure. I mean, I don't think that's going to hold back development of this.
It is not.
Okay.
There's nothing on the list that we can't accomplish. And let me just add one thing. You're unique in that you have an ordinance with portions of that ordinance exceed the state standard, okay? Really, your office is reviewing detailed engineering plans like your engineer has. Those concerns have been raised and approved by the state already. We changed those plans because we had a permit to construct all of this project 20 years ago. And some of those standards have been increased. And so we had to go in and re-engineer this whole expansion area. And that was costly. But there's a demand out there and we want to meet it. And it's urgent that we get this done right now because they're taking bids for construction, and to delay it for another month or so would be costly and might ruin this construction season. So I appreciate you.
I have a question. Is there a reservoir out there with means of water other than the fire hydrants? Is there some place that water gathers there that we capture or something?
We have there's a detention basin that all of the stormwater goes into for the whole project. And that's right below here in a piece of property that's a portion of this that's currently zoned industrial.
Any other discussion on the motion? Yeah.
If we table, how long do we table until they get it fixed like Nikki is suggesting? Or
It would be tabled until the next planning commission meeting, I believe, unless you elected to put it out. Well, then we'd be right back here. And we would do this again. I would ask this, I'm gonna ask the same questions here, whether you grant conditional approval or move to table. It's just a matter of whether you will see these plans again, or if it will just pass a final departmental review.
And Nikki suggesting,
What's that?
what is Nikki suggesting?
Mickey isn't really giving a suggestion on that. He's just offering some edits to the technical aspects of the plan. He's just provided those to me, not giving any of you a recommendation on how you should vote tonight. My recommendation was conditional approval, to where I will circle back with Mickey, Patrick, and Mr. Westphal and make sure that these last few requirements are checked off. And then that approval, the condition of that approval would be met. And so you would not have to have Mr. Westphal back to review it tonight, or at the next meeting in April.
So then they would go back and work with our gentleman here to make sure that all of that was lined up and done correctly.
Yeah, and Ian would be responsible for making sure that it's all taken right.
Any other comments or questions? All right, the motion before the commission is to approve the special use permit application with those conditions of having those matters rectified to the staff's standards. Bring the matter to vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. Next up is a discussion and possible approval of the overlay district. Ian, can you give us the background on this?
Yes, so as it stands presently, and we might ask Pamela to pull this up in the agenda packet, the output document.
Not on,
Oh, okay.
what is that copy?
Oh, gotcha. All right, then you can pass that one around, but we don't have a formal map of the overlay district. It's still very new. If I haven't already today, I'll take the opportunity to say I'm a department of one. So I just haven't gotten to making a formal map showing the overlay district. I still just have the drawings that Colin and I originally sat down and made. To be clear, the overlay district is new. Council passed an ordinance that required marijuana-based businesses to only exist within the overlay district. That created, I believe, one prior non-conforming use, which is that Sonny's Medical Dispensary on Eaton Street. This is before you today with all the appropriate public notice sent out. Sorry, it was a lot of finding out who we had to notify.
Let's just use these two, maybe
Yep.
that can help.
All of the highlighted parcels on the map in your left hand. I found the map in your right hand a little difficult to read. That was provided by the ADC. All of the yellow parcels are the current overlay district. That is what you're being asked to expand tonight. So marijuana business in Albion can only expand or start new on the highlighted parcels in your left hand there. Yep.
And the suggestion is to expand it to this entire industrial district.
Correct. That was the request made of you by Amy DePrez with the support, I believe, of the Economic Development Corporation Board. So where you're at right now is voting on a change. There's no proposed change beyond that. It is at your discretion how to move forward.
And what exactly does the overlay district do, given that the council has already acted to restrict the placement?
So the council's action was to set an ordinance in place that restricted marijuana business to an overlay district.
Okay.
You, a few months ago, set a recommendation for that overlay district, as is procedure, the planning commission, if there's a map to be set, basically, you have the first go of it, and then that recommendation is sent on to council. The map that we have now is identical to the one with the highlighted parcels you have there. There's an interesting interaction between what the zoning ordinance says and what now this overlay district ordinance requires. Again, I'm going to reference the zoning map because that's how I work. This is the industrial park. The brown gray districts here and out here and out here are not in the industrial park, but they are industrial zoned parcels. Additionally, the kind of light blue, so not the dark blue at the top and not the cyan in the middle, the just kind of paler blue adjacent there is the heavy industrial district. The industrial districts in the industrial park are not the same thing. The industrial park is just a portion of the M1 and M2 districts outlined on that map in the right hand, which is managed by the Albion Economic Development Corporation, who themselves have a board who vote on the standards of development within there. So right now, that is where marijuana growing, processing, secure transporters, I think growing, processing, and secure transporters may operate. There's also some marijuana-based uses allowed in the commercial district, which is the dark blue district at the top part of the map there. Under the current overlay district, no commercial parcels and no industrial parcels outside of the industrial park are included in the overlay district. So like we said, Sunny's, which is on Eaton Street, is allowed to exist because under our zoning ordinance, it was allowed to go there in the first place. It's now a prior non-conforming use due to the overlay district. And so they're allowed to continue operation there. They're not allowed to expand that prior non-conforming use. And if like their building burnt down or got hit by a runaway semi, these are the examples I have to use. More than 50%, if more than 50% of the building was lost in some way, they would not be able to rebuild in that current site. So as of right now, just some select parcels highlighted on that map in the industrial park are the overlay district.
And the reason why the EDC is recommending a overlay district, which is essentially the industrial park itself, is what?
To allow them to have more freedom in selecting where future developments can go. If they have a parcel that is in the overlay district right now that they think would be a good fit for something not related to marijuana, they've lost a parcel that they could put marijuana business on, and they essentially, I think Amy's exact words were, we would never have the whole industrial park be one of any type of business, because that's not economically sustainable. I don't want to speak on her or the EDC's behalf, but the comments given to you by the EDC were not, we'd like to fill the industrial park with marijuana businesses. It was, we'd like to have more control over where the businesses in the industrial park may operate.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
the control of where the businesses may operate inside the industrial park,
Yes,
which is right off Austin Ave.
correct.
And so the overlay dictates where they are and where they can be.
Correct.
And the overlay also is anything outside of the industrial.
There is no portion of the overlay district outside of the industrial park.
And so basically, we're just trying to expand the facilities within the industrial park. A possibility.
Yes.
Yes.
They want to,
Possibility for the
they want a bigger list of their own parcels in the park to choose from for development. They feel, I believe, limited by the current overlay district.
And that's nothing outside, because what's with the blue?
Yeah, so the blue on there is that's light industrial versus heavy industrial. So the light industrial is the tan color. The blue, which you'll notice on that loop there, but also way on the far right side outside of town, is heavy industrial. So for example, it's hard to see, but left of my hand is the industrial park,
Okay,
not including these parcels along the river, not including the old Harvard Industry site, not including McCullough Park, not including, that's Kanoff, isn't it? And this is a future site of another industrial park that is a 425 agreement we have with Sheridan Township. So we own and have jurisdiction over a few acres in Sheridan Township. That is also not what's being discussed tonight. So that would be another industrial area outside of where they're proposing the marijuana overlay district gets expanded to.
so I'm understanding the only area that we're discussing is within the industrial park.
Correct.
To the left side of your hand.
Yeah, so it's Austin Avenue. It's not the front facing parcels of it. It's also, so it's got Burstein Drive, Burstein Court, Industrial Avenue, and Elliott Road, which form this loop through there. Yeah, it's not exactly outlined on our zoning map. And I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head which parcels are in the industrial park and not. I just know it's all of the ones that face that central loop.
This is the map that Amy presented last month when she did her presentation.
So I don't know if the parcel lines are clearly shown on that. If you can match that up to the zoning map that you're seeing, that's what's being asked of you by the EDC.
Any other commissioner questions, comments?
No, it's just that when you get ready to call for the vote, would you make it very, very plain of how it is? I've been in a meeting in Lansing all day and I left home and left my books and things because I have it all marked out here, but I don't have that with me. So please make it plain as to what we're voting on.
Oh, I try to do that each time.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I make the motion to approve the overlay district that's presented to the expansion district.
Any support?
I'll support.
It's been moved and support to approve the overlay district as proposed. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. So the motion is to approve the expansion of the overlay district for the entire industrial park for purposes of marijuana businesses. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Opposed.
No.
And it passes. All right. Moving on to discussion and approval of application for site plan review, 923 Burstein Drive. And the LLC. Ian, thanks for that.
Okay. All right, similarly to the special use permit, the Department of Planning staff report is included in the packet as well as the application. So slightly different from the last one, but you'll follow a lot of the same rules, as this isn't a special use. This is a use permitted by right by our ordinance, and this is a parcel within the overlay district as it already existed before this meeting. 923 Burstein will be the owners are applying for approval to create a marijuana growing and processing facility. There were a few deficiencies on the application which were notified to the applicant, I believe. Some similar comments from Mickey, some similar comments from Patrick. The plans are in the packet that was mailed out. I understand we had some trouble viewing the packet, and I think that was kind of unilaterally experienced. Do you have to have drawings on you today? Gotcha. So these were the ones submitted with the application. So if you want to review these drawings, they are available to you. In an
email, I could probably forward them to you guys right now if you wanted to.
I think that would be okay. I think we have access to it.
I can't do that when we.
Gotcha. My recommendation is conditional approval. There were fewer comments from Patrick and Mickey on this development. I've been working with Christine at the EDC and the applicant and the owners on this project for a few months. I think it was last August we started talking about this. Minus the water requirements, everything was satisfactory to my review, and I would recommend, again, conditional approval upon final satisfaction of the water questions posed by Patrick.
You need to go through public safety and the attorney's review.
Does not require the attorney's review. Public safety is one of the offices that I solicit for comment. Seeing as Scott's here, I typically don't expect a written comment beforehand, and that if he has comments, he'd make them at the meeting. So when I say I solicit parties for review, our ordinance requires that I notify the city engineer, which is Mickey Bettner at Whiteman and Associates, Director of Public Works, Patrick Miller, Director of Public Safety, Scott Kipp, and the building official. Our building services are contracted out through Safe Build. Our building official with them is Fritz Pins. They were all emailed these plans as I received them in the application. And Patrick and Mickey provided their comments regarding the water.
Okay. Do we have a representative of the applicant here?
Yes.
You want to come forward, give us your name and your address?
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Mohammed Saeed. I'm the project manager. I present Mr. Ashraf Saad, the applicant.
Okay, and where do you live?
I live in Beaver Heights.
And what is it that you're proposing to put in again?
I'm sorry,
What is it you're proposing to put in on the site?
medical marijuana grow facility.
Okay, so are you asking simply for a growing license or for more than that?
We applied for a license transfer from Conco, the previous licensee.
Okay.
And we also submitted plans for review at the same time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Their license is on the agenda for this evening. This is for their site plan review for the building.
Oh, for the building itself.
I know it seems like they would be tied, but the issuance of the license and the issuance of the site plan approval are separate and not contingent upon each other. Both are on the agenda tonight, but right now this is just for the site plan review.
Got it.
And I'm Roddy Buslak, I'm with Bemer Construction Consultants. So yeah, we're here today to hopefully get approval on, it's almost 12,000 square foot, 500 plant, growing, and it's not really processing, is it? No, it's growing and basically get it through the state, right, for distribution, right? Basically, you guys grow it, package it, cut it, and package it out to the state, mainly for growing. Correct.
So Ian, the conditions that you have for approval are what?
Just satisfaction of Patrick and Mickey's remaining questions about water and sewer usage. Mickey's comments were that it was a really well put together site plan. And he just, in the style we expect from our engineer, pointed out a few deficiencies where he saw them.
Any commissioner questions, motions?
So is this improvements to an existing building that's out there or a brand new building?
Brand new building.
Brand new building, okay.
And he actually owns the lot next door too. So while we're out here grading this one, we're gonna prep a pad. If this goes good, hopefully we can come back and put another building, basically mirror this one. It's kind of the forethought.
So we're talking about putting up a grow facility,
Yes,
and this grow facility will grow the marijuana, package it. I heard you say something about.
distribution through the state, that's how it goes, right? Yes.
So you're growing really for the state, and the state do the distribution.
Correct.
And
You
this.
guys are gonna sell it to the state.
Yeah, I can elaborate for the gentleman. So our part is the growing and our advertising department gets in touch with licensed buyers. What we mean by that is that the state licenses a grower and it also licenses a buyer and it also licenses a transporter between the two parties. So what we do is we only grow, we don't retail. We seek buyers or we get communication from interested buyers based on our products. We also hire a transportation company that comes to us, transport the pre-tested product by a third-party state licensed lab, and that's how it goes.
Is it strictly for medical marijuana?
Only
or is it- or is
Only
it
medical,
Only.
that's for right now, yes.
And you don't necessarily sell to the state, but people that have state license, people that have been sanctioned by the state to be able to. Like a broker.
Like someone with a medical card? No, we're not allowed to retail it. We are only allowed to sell it to dispensaries, to retail, to retailers.
Any other comments, questions, or motion?
How many other facilities do you manage?
We plan for another future facility, mirrored on the another. I'm sorry? Yes, our future plans include a identical facility.
Well, I mean, other,
You guys
outside of
have-
Albion. No, this is your first.
First project, yes.
Where are you getting your employees from?
Mostly local. That was our That was our promise to Christine and the ADC, as like we wanted to present this not only as a business model or a business venture, we also wanted to make this a part of the EDC plans to grow more, to find more jobs and to motivate economical development.
So how many employees would a project like this?
A facility like this dedicated to grow only would be anywhere from 5 to 8 employees at full time, yes.
So the labor is probably about what, maybe 2 or 3?
Uh,
Because I'm sure you're not gonna put somebody that have no knowledge like me in a system like this.
So in a business model like this, you involve 2 kind of employees, full-time and part-time. Part-time are mostly seasonal, when you have a lot of product that you have to trim and get ready for packaging. For the most part, we'll have 5 to 8. I'm sorry, let me just make sure I got your question right. Are you asking about the salaries or the pay?
I'm asking about the number of employees.
Yes,
The
5.
salaries is good to know as well.
5 to 8. Yeah, the national average for a grow facility employee who trains caregive a plant is anywhere from $15 to $25 an hour. The average national salary for a head of cultivation is anywhere between $55,000 to $85,000 a year. So a facility like this would take a manager, a head of cultivation, and 6 employees.
2 of those jobs are already taken. But you
Not really.
We're part-time.
We're hiring, actually. We did not make any decisions yet in terms of who's in charge of which. But we're open up.
So is Sunny still a medical marijuana place here now?
Yes,
I didn't understand the question.
So then this would be the only one?
For grow,
The lady is asking.
is this the only one?
So,
we're gonna have
I believe
for grow?
Sunny's closed.
Sunny's is a,
Okay, so.
yeah, it's a retail, but this is not retail.
Right, this is strictly grow, right?
And Sunny still has a license.
Right.
Sunny still has a license. But they're not, I don't think they're used to it.
Any other commissioner questions, comments, or motion?
So I know that, and maybe this is inappropriate for this, then you can stop me. I know that Sunny's came through here a couple times and was sort of nudging us to allow commercial use because they were struggling as a medical marijuana retailer. And I understand that this is different because this is grow facility. Essentially, their market is statewide as opposed to Sunny's, which is wherever they think their market is. I guess I would want to make sure that if we're starting a project that clearly has got, you know, a budget and would want to make sure that, and again, maybe it's not my call as a board member here, but to make sure that this is viable if we're going to approve this, that we're not going to have something start and not be able to go through. Because the market, what we've seen as a medical facility, you know, on one of our main streets hasn't been able to make it.
Well, with the overlay district, they can do both medical and recreational marijuana. So there's nothing stopping them from doing recreational, they're choosing to do it here under so. But I don't think that's an issue necessarily.
And also, just to be clear, this is an application for site plan review. We're simply reviewing the structure and all of the, you know, accoutrements to it, make sure that it's meets all of the requirements under the ordinance for site plan. And according to staff, they're largely supportive. There are a couple of nits that have to be cleaned up. Other than that, it's been seen to be a quality site plan review. That's what's before us right now.
Can I ask a question? Is there a requirement that we know prior to whether or not they have the financial means to be able to carry out the project. Isn't that on one of the checklists or something?
That is in the next number D.
May I make a quick comment?
Well, just one second. Just because I know what you're referring to, and see, remember, this is just a site plan review, it's a structure. I think what you're referring to is the application process under the city's marijuana ordinance. And you're right, they do have to show certain financial viability, but that's actually the next action after this. It's not D. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so by state law, for any licensee seeking a marijuana grow license, they have to get a pre-qualification. They get through a pre-qualification process. And a pivotal requirement for this process is proving that you have over 500K in liquidated assets. So every city that allows investors seeking licenses, they already know that these licensees already got through that pre-qualifications process, meaning that they already have their assets checked and they fulfill that requirement.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the site plan conditional on rectifying the deficiencies noted by Director. Second.
It's been moved and supported to approve the application for site plan review for 923 Burstein Drive, depending on a few of the matters noted being cleaned up. Any discussion? So now we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Opposed. Okay. The two opposed? Okay. So you can go and sit down for a second, you probably come up in a second. I know. We're gonna move on to D, which is approval of medical marijuana license application for Anna Green LLC. Ian, if you can give us the background on this.
Yep.
They're right there.
Oh, yep. This process is a little different. It's not as public as the site plan reviews are. The site plan review documents, everything we've discussed so far, everything that we're going to discuss are included in the packet and are public knowledge. These applications, because of the nature of the information they contain, are not, well, because of some of the requirements that we have. I think Colin can do a better job of explaining it, but it's requirements that if we require them to make public, could give them, I think, a disadvantage in their own business, or like, I think there's social security numbers on these applications on the front of them. This application is not just reviewed by my department, it's planning, public safety, finance, clerk's office, as well as the city attorney. This is an application that was submitted October. Wow. And we've been working with the applicant since then on application deficiencies for Colin's review, for my review. And you might remember we did these a little while ago, maybe almost a year ago, for different addresses. But what I can tell you about the application is what Pamela can tell you about the application as well, which is that it passed the review of all the parties at the city: finance director, planning director, public safety, clerk, city attorney, that it was supposed to. We can't really discuss the content too much from there. It passed your department heads and your city attorney's review. And I don't think I'm the party that necessarily gives the recommendation on that. I think that would be the clerk or the city attorney.
Okay. Well, we've seen these before. These are the cities put together various applications to comport with the various marijuana ordinances. This is an application for medical marijuana growers facility. And it has all the information, and then on the review pages, it appears that every one of the elements has been signed off on by the relevant department.
Yeah, I think with these, you might see a couple duplicate signature pages because we all sign different documents and return them to the clerk.
Right. So my understanding, if you follow the ordinance, then it's to be approved.
Correct.
So, any commissioner comments, questions, motion?
And all of Cullen's questions that he had posed on here, they've been satisfied.
Yes, at the end of those email threads, you'll see, he said it's good.
Okay.
Any comments, questions, or motion?
Motion to approve this license application.
Second.
Been moved and supported to approve the medical marijuana license application by Anna Green LLC. Any discussion?
I think at some point, we need a legal opinion on these, because I think at times people want to tend to vote for whether they agree or disagree with marijuana facilities. And I don't believe we have the choice to do that. We have to vote purely on the fact that this passes.
They complete the license.
They complete the license properly. City council decided that these were legal in these places, and we either have to approve it based on the fact that permit's correct or not correct.
Any other discussion? Okay, we'll bring it to a vote. The matter before us is the motion is approval of the medical marijuana license application for growing purposes for Anna Green LLC. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, passes. We're now moving on to discussion and possible approval of site plan review for 1007 Industrial Drive. Ian, can you give us the background on that?
Real quick, just off that last item, the commission members should be sure to return their packets. I see them up on there, but just so that make sure that Pamela leaves with all 8 that she printed today.
Doesn't have to.
Okay. I've heard it from me twice already tonight. You're going to hear it a third time. My report does recommend conditional approval. There are some comments returned by Patrick and Mickey, as well as a couple discrepancies on my end of the application, the site plan data required, that I'm seeking to get rectified and satisfied with the applicant.
Can you just describe to the commission what it is that this they're wanting to do?
This is a site plan review for a adult use is the legal term, adult use marijuana growing and processing facility at 1007 Industrial Avenue. Again, that is a parcel within the overlay district. That is a use permitted by right by our zoning ordinance. And
It's merely a site plan review for some structure.
correct, there's, I believe there's a license already issued for this. It's not on the agenda. I think these were issued last year. Which again demonstrates the growing and processing licenses and the site plan reviews are non-contingent upon each other. They're not related. So there were the usual questions from Patrick and Mickey on this, and a few requirements that I am working with the applicant to rectify. We are in a similar situation as of this month with this plan as the special use permit application and the last site plan review application, where my recommendation to you is conditional approval. You should see in my report all the application materials similar to that we were seeing for the last site plan we just did. And again, that conditional approval is to leave the wrapping up of the last handful of requirements to me and other city staff. And
Anything unusual about these requirements that?
no, they're pretty consistent with the other discrepancies we've had. I've been working with the applicant, Mr. Muslim, for about 6-8 months now, I think. And I feel good about the site plan that he's presented with a few minor alterations. I think it will conform to our standards of the zoning ordinance. And I don't think this or any of the other prior plans will have difficulty getting their building permits to start construction.
Okay.
Well, one unique thing on this, this is not a brand new construction. This is an addition to an existing facility. Sorry. So this is 1007. So again, if you want to look at the map, the gray portion of the industrial park down Industrial Avenue is actually curiously also 27.5-mile road. Yeah, it's the second parcel in from Austin Avenue on Industrial Avenue. And it's an existing building that they're adding on to.
Okay. Is there a representative of the applicant here?
Yes.
Come on board and give us your name and address.
My name is Tarek, T-A-R-E-K, last name is Mazloum, M-A-Z-L-O-U-M. And my address is 3815 Hervey in Canton, Michigan.
Okay. And what is it you're doing?
Actually, not only we're doing an expansion, that specific space used to have a building that collapsed under heavy snow at one point. So we're basically rebuilding what used to be existing over there. So we're expanding the building, yes, but in reality, there used to be a building over there anyway prior to this.
Okay. And you've been in discussions with Mr. Arnold about the things that would have to be changed.
That is correct.
Commissioners, any questions, comments?
And is that an expansion to grow marijuana for medical?
That is, that's adult use,
Pardon?
adult use, recreational.
Oh,
Is there anything on the list of deficiencies that would preclude you from completing that?
No, one example of the deficiencies was on the plans that I received prior to this set. This is the set you're required to bring tonight. There was a setback line that wasn't clearly shown on the plans. This is where we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of what I review. Because I went out to the site and I can see relative to the plans in my hands where the proposed building is going to go. And by my estimate, it will meet that setback requirement, but the plans didn't show it. So I just need a final submit of plans that show these deficiencies. I don't have doubts about the applicant's ability to provide those. On any of these where the conditional approval you've given, if the applicant cannot provide them, then they won't receive that approval, right? So they have to reapply. So it's not you're voting conditional approval and then it's going to happen even if there's something wrong. So in terms of conformity to our zoning ordinance, just a couple 1s and 2s. And I feel confident that they will be satisfied. And if they aren't,
I guess my question was more for Mr. Maslow, if there was anything financially that would preclude you from completing the deficiencies that were noted.
Absolutely not, because I went over them with Christine earlier today. And to be honest with you, it's mainly architectural work by the architect just to place all these items on the plan that he had in place originally. Other than that, it really has nothing to do with the construction.
Okay. Thank you.
Any commissioner comments, questions, motion?
Motion to approve
The building fell down and we just put it back up.
That is correct.
Okay, I think we have a motion to approve the site plan review.
Yeah, motion to approve the site plan review contingent on rectifying the deficiencies. Right. Support.
Then moved and supported to approve the site plan for the new construction at 1007 Industrial Drive. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Is that a no? Okay. All right. All right, update, discussion, comprehensive plan. Ian, you want to give a?
Yep.
Overview of this?
So we had a meeting of the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee prior to this planning commission meeting, as we've been doing for a few months now. The next steps will be scheduling among that Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, which is for anyone present, just because I don't think we've refreshed in a while. A few members of the Planning Commission, a few members of council, myself, City Manager Snyder, Amy Praise of the EDC, and our consultants at Beckett and Rader, who we've been employing and working with for a number of months now. We are nearing the end of the drafting of our update to the City of Albion's comprehensive plan. It's going swimmingly. I'm very happy with the progress we're making. We are at the state's deadline for submittal, but I am in communication with the MEDC offices that receive this on where we're at, and they're not sounding any alarms saying we're going to be in trouble, we're going to lose our certification or anything. The next thing up for the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee will be scheduling a irregular meeting where they've usually been from 6 to 7 p.m. prior to planning commission meetings. We're going to schedule this one on a Tuesday where there isn't a planning commission meeting, and Beckett and Rader staff will come in person, and we'll start kind of a final review of the plan's chapters. The process will be finalizing the draft with the steering committee. They will send that to the planning commission. The planning commission will vote to have council distribute that. Council will vote as to whether to distribute that draft of the plan. There's a 63-day period for feedback, after which it goes back to the planning commission for a final review and making any changes that were suggested or asked for based on that feedback. If the planning commission chooses to do so, then they will send a final draft to the city council, and the city council will exercise their last option to make any changes and then approve the plan. Comprehensive plan is a document required by all municipalities in the state of Michigan, by the state for all municipalities. It outlines kind of an economic portrait of the city, population, the sectors where we employ our residents, our housing stock, cost of living, as well as future land use plans broadly. But there's a section specifically about future land use, but really it all relates to how we intend to set our zoning ordinance and laws in the future of the city. We're really nearing the end of that progress. We had a good starting place this cycle. If I'm just throwing context your way that you already know, I'm doing it for the benefit. We have a planning commission meeting going on right now with more attendance than we usually have, so I'd like to provide that. But our last comprehensive plan was updated in 2017, and prior to that, I believe it was 2002. State requires it be updated every 5 years to keep us in good standing. Our good standing with the state solidifies our RRC status with the MEDC, which is a redevelopment ready community. That gets our developers more access to funding for their redevelopment projects, and it gives city staff more access to state assistance administratively in reviewing these projects. So it's great. It's going well. Any questions?
All right. Thank you, Ian. Thank you for your work on that project. All right. Who we heard from?
Mark will give notice. I can get the sheriff on.
All right. Do I have a motion to excuse any absent board member?
Motion to approve. Mark Lilly.
Support. Okay. Okay. Moved and supported to excuse Mark Lally, who gave notice. Any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we'll bring it to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Any commissioner comments? Looks like we're moving up for the last month. Yeah. Take a motion to adjourn.
What comments is on the order on this?
Oh, public comment, okay. I'm sorry, you're right. Everything's out of order. Any public who has not come forward who wishes to address the commission? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank
What do you guys think?
Okay, so.
Yeah, it's, I think it's still being reviewed by the other department.
Yeah.